तत्र शूरा महेश्वसा भीम अर्जुन समायुधि युयुधानो विराटश्च द्रुपदश्च महारथ. Translation. Here, in this army, there are many heroic bowmen, equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna. There are also great fighters like Yudhan, Virat, and Draupada. So, in continuation to the previous shloka, where we have discussed that Duryodhan is describing about the military formations to Dronacharya, and he is informing Dronacharya about the fact that the whole of this military formation has been specially arranged by his disciple, the son of Draupad, Drishtidumna, who was supposed to be the reason of death for Dronacharya. Now, in this particular shloka, he is further describing that other than Drishtidumna, there are also great fighters like Yuyudhan, Virat, and Draupada who are equal in fighting skills and strength to Bhima and Arjuna. Now, there are a few points that are interesting and very we will discuss in the purport moving forward. Moving on to purport. Even though Drishtidumna was not a very important obstacle in the face of Dronacharya, very great power in the military art, there were many others who were the cause of fear. Now here we can see that the author is telling us that even though Drishtidumna, the son of Draupad, who was benedicted to Draupad and who was benedicted that would become the reason for death of Dronacharya, Drishtidumna. It is said, the author says that he was not a very important obstacle in the face of Dronacharya. He was not a very important obstacle in the face of Dronacharya. Now, in the previous verse or the previous shlok, we have seen that Duryodhan is trying to portray Drishtidumna as a very important reason to invoke or to bring anger out of Dronacharya because uh, that Drishtidumna was actually a disciple of Dronacharya, and Dronacharya has taught Drishtidumna, knowing that Drishtidumna would become a reason for his death in future. And today, when they were standing face off in the opposite army, he was trying to aggravate, he was trying to invoke anger into Dronacharya so that he would fight more aggressively towards from his side. But in this particular shloka, author is telling us very clearly that Drishtidumna was actually he was a capable fighter, but he was nothing in front of Dronacharya, who was an expertise in the military art. He was the guru of all the gurus, and Drishtidumna was only a minor. He was only a disciple and not as skilled as many others who were already also present in the opposite party or in the party of Pandavas. This also shows the political side, political might, and political cleverness of Duryodhan, and it tells us that even though Drishtidumna was not a very significant fighter in front of Dronacharya, but Duryodhan portrayed Drishtidumna as a very distinctive figure so that he can actually invoke some anger and some fighting spirit inside Dronacharya so that he becomes more cruel and does not and even if Dronacharya had any kind of soft corner for Pandavas or anyone else from the opposite side because they all were also disciples of Dronacharya only, so he wanted that point to go out from his mind and he wanted Dronacharya to fight to his fullest capability. So this particular part of the purport tells us that Duryodhan was actually very clever politically also, and secondly that Drishtidumna was actually not a very big might in front of Dronacharya when it came to military prowess. will move forward, uh, it is written that they are mentioned by Duryodhan as great stumbling blocks on the path of victory, who other fighters like Yuyudhana, Virat, and Draupadi, because each and every one of them was as formidable as Bhima and Arjuna. Now, what does this statement tells us? This statement tells us two things. First, it tells us about the capabilities of Bhima and Arjuna. Duryodhan, as well as all the Kauravas, including Dronacharya, knew the capabilities of Bhima and Arjuna. Now, since Duryodhan is comparing these fighters like Yudhana, Virat, and Draupad to Bhima and Arjun, now he is comparing them to Bhima and Arjun. That shows that Bhima and Arjun are the benchmark. Bhima and Arjun are the benchmark to which others are compared. So first of all, it tells us that Bhima, who was supposed to be one of the most powerful physically, and Arjun, who was supposed to be one of the most brilliant when it comes to fighting art, especially when it comes to fighting with a bow and arrow. So these two, Bhim and Arjun, were actually very skilled, very capable, and they were the biggest threat from the opposite army, and that is why all the other fighters are being compared to them, to as to that they are almost equal to in prowess to Bhima and Arjuna. Secondly, uh, as formidable as Bhima and Arjuna, right? Moving forward, he says that he knew the strength of Bhima and Arjun, and thus he compared the others with them because he knew that Bhima and Arjun were actually great fighters. That is why he was comparing other fighters with Bhima and Arjun. And he says that these fighters can become the stumbling blocks in the path of victory. So they were actually very good in their skill of fighting. Right, so I think with this, we come to the end of the reading of fourth shloka of first chapter of Bhagavad Gita.